Trying new pickup lines on people, day one.
Come on. Man, you are so beautiful. One might describe you as a work of art.
Oh, thank you.
And you know what they say? Life imitates art.
That's really sweet.
That's really sweet.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
How are you filming this?
Why are you filming this?
I'm just gonna go.
I'm just gonna go.
Stop following me! Stop following me!
On Route 44 in Pleasant Valley, like if you're heading away from Pleasant Valley, there's like a bunch of apartments and like shops and whatnot that have like lights and stuff. Shut it! This kind of reminds me of going through on Route 44 where all the lights are and shit. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of all the lights and whatnot. It just reminds me of on Route 44, like if you're heading away from Pleasant Valley and shit. Yeah, it's got all the lights. I just wanted to point that out. All that hay has been cut down. Finally. Well, except for over here, but I'm sure that they're going to get to it sooner or later, but yeah. Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner. 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 Still working on it. Gonna be building a bridge on 1 and 16. Route 6, this is South Route 1, heading south on Route 1, and where the traffic light is, that's 16. kind of wondering, does anybody out there have a vacuum like this? You know, you take it apart, you know, so that you can open this up, open the bottom up, and you just, you know, clean it all out. You know, you just dump out the stuff into a garbage pail or something, and then you take this outside on a nice day, and you can clean it. You know, you clean it with a garden hose, right? You just, well, you know what I mean, right? You open this up, right? You go outside with a garden hose, right? You go outside with a garden hose and you clean that up, you know, you just wash it all out, right? And then you just wait for it to dry, and then you put it on there, right? You put your, right, you take this thing, right? You open it up, you press this thing and you open it up, right? And you get to, you know, empty it all out, right? You know what I mean, right? You get to clean all of that out, right? You bring it outside to like where you have a garden hose or something or whatever, and you wash it all out, right? You wash this stuff all out, and then you put it back on this thing, right? You take it and you put it back on that thing, right? You can take this foamy thing out, right? Right? If this thing gets all dirty, you take it out. You wash it in the sink with hot soap and water. Throw it in the dryer for good, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes. Let it dry, and then you put it back in this thing, right? Does anybody out there Does anybody out there have a vacuum like this? Right? You clean this out, right? If it gets all dirty or whatever and scuzzy, you just take it, pop it out, and you rinse in the sink with, like, you know, a hot soap and water. And then you throw it in the dryer for good, you know, you just throw it in the dryer and then put it back on there. You take this fucking thing, you dump it out, whatever, right? It's all gut dirty and nasty and scuzzy, right? You take this thing, you wash it with hot soap and water. Wait for it to dry, or if you want to get it dry real quick, you just, you know, you put it in the dryer, right? You throw it in the dryer, right? You throw it in the dryer, and you let it dry for a good couple of minutes. You take it out, right? And then you take that foamy thing, put it right back in this thing, right? And then you throw this thing back in that hole right there. And then this thing goes on top. So who out there has a vacuum like I do? Who out there has a vacuum like I do? Right? You can clean this thing out. This bucket with that spongy thing. The bottom part, right? You can just, you know, pop that out, wash it with, you know, soap and water, hot soap and water, let it dry or whatever. Put it back on there. This thing, you can open it up, right? Open up both the top and the bottom, right? You open up the top and the bottom. You go outside with, you know, you have a garden hose, and you take the garden hose. You just, you know, rinse. You just spray all the inside, whatever, and, you know, you wait for it to dry. You know, you get all the gunk out. Well, you don't use the garden hose to get the gunk out, right? You're inside, right? When you're inside, you just take all this stuff out from here and from here, right? You dump all this stuff, right? You take all the stuff and you dump it into a garbage pail, right? All the stuff that's inside, you put it into a garbage pail, right? Clean that off, whatever, but you know what I mean, right? And then after you clean all this, you get all the gunk out, right? You go outside with a garden hose, and you just wash all the inside, you know, if there's stuff on the inside that didn't come out, right? Got that little thing right there. And basically, you take a garden hose and just wash, you know, you clean the inside out, right? You clean the inside out with a garden hose. And then you If it's hot outside, you just wait for it to dry, a good couple of hours, let it dry, and then you bring it back inside. Throw this thing back in there. You take this thing, put it back in that hole, and then this thing goes on top of this. That thing goes on top. This thing goes on top. So who out there has a vacuum like I do? Who out there has a nifty vacuum like this? Yeah, I'm just wondering. Let me know if you have a vacuum like this. Just let me know. Just let me know. Has anybody out there ever seen this movie, Heavy Metal? Anybody out there ever seen this movie called Heavy Metal? Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering. It's a good classic movie. A good classic movie called Heavy Metal. I'm just wondering if anybody out there ever watched the movie called Heavy Metal. It's a good classic movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go and watch it. Like I said, has anybody out there ever seen the movie called Heavy Metal? Have you seen the movie Heavy Metal? I know the lighting in here isn't really too good, but you know, it's got some classic songs, deleted scenes. You know, it's just a very good classic movie to watch. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend maybe going to a library. Maybe they might have it. Amazon, they have it. I got this at Barnes & Noble in Poughkeepsie. I got this at Barnes & Noble in Poughkeepsie. Yeah, I got this movie at Barnes & Noble in Poughkeepsie. So before I came down here, right, you know, when I was still living up there in New York, blah, 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 I bought this at Barnes & Noble in Poughkeepsie. But yeah, I'm just wondering, have you seen this movie, Heavy Metal? Have you seen this movie called Heavy Metal? Let me know. Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Do I have a puddle in my yard? Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Do I have a small puddle in my yard?